Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something very exciting because we have a brand new Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary Captivz figure to take a look at. Yes, we have more super-sized Captivz. This time we've got a Dilophosaurus, and not only do we have a Dilophosaurus, we have a brand new sculpted version, which is way better than the previously released version of the Dilophosaurus in the Captivz line. And what's really exciting about this is prior to this, we only had one wave of the supersized figures in the JP30 line, and I thought that's all we were going to get until Tim from Collect Jurassic posted on his social media accounts, of course, that he had found a new Dilophosaurus, and I found out from him that they were at Walmart, and I instantly went to see if mine had them, and sure enough, they did, and we are now here again with the review for the Dilophosaurus. And man, what an improvement on this one over the previous Dilophosaurus. This thing is way, way nicer. On top of the Dilo, inside the egg, you'll also find the stickers, of course, like we've had the whole time. I think they're the same stickers. I don't believe these have changed, but it's been a little while since I had actually taken a look at the stickers from the first round. I'm pretty sure they're the same. And we've got the card, and what's cool about having the supersized version is now the card is also supersized, so we have a much, more standard-sized collectible card that goes with the supersized versions. You can see the incredible artwork, and again, hooting horror. And then on the back, we actually have a look there at the older Dilophosaurus from the Captivz line, which you can see the newer one, again, is such a massive improvement. And we also have the slip that comes with this that, of course, shows you some information about the game itself that you can play with these, but it also shows you the other supersized figures that are in this wave, one of which we can see is the Dilophosaurus, which we are currently taking a look at. There is also the Velociraptor, and what's really cool about that is the Velociraptor is actually the same sculpt of the very hard to find Velociraptor Blue from Jurassic World Dominion, which had such a limited release, and very few people were able to acquire that one, especially here in the United States. So it's really cool that that raptor now has a second chance to get into collectors' hands, and we won't have to miss out on that, or at least the majority of people won't have to miss out on that sculpt. And there's a brand new Ankylosaurus. So what's really exciting about this is there were two dinosaurs in the Captivz line that I felt like really needed an upgrade. That would be the Dilophosaurus and the Ankylosaurus, and both of them got the upgrade here with the supersized versions. And I do have the Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus. I haven't found the Ankylosaurus quite yet, but I'll definitely be looking for it everywhere I go because that thing looks awesome there when it comes to the new version. So very cool to have, again, a brand new wave of supersized JP30 figures. But like I said, this figure again looks great here at first glance. So as always, let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dilophosaurus, look at how good that head sculpt looks. That looks so nice, definitely very, very much so. I would say spot on to what you see when it comes to a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, and a massive, as I said numerous times, massive improvement over the older one. You could see some really nice detailing here on the figure. You've got some nice paintwork, even though the tones of color on this aren't perfect to what you see on a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus when it comes to having a grayish appearance here rather than a green. I still think it looks really nice. They've kind of captured the design as far as the paint scheme goes, just not quite the tones. But you have a black that kind of runs up there into the face, up through the eye socket, and up into the crest. There's also a nice dark wash that's been applied to the figure, highlighting a lot of the detail, and you can see the eyes painted with a yellow, given a nice black pupil, and very nicely placed, I would say. For the most part, it's a little, maybe slightly off on this side, but for the most part, it looks nice. Our Dilophosaurus does have the frill extended here, and you can see that as well. Looks nice. We've got a lot of coloration here on this one. You have a black that kind of outlines the frill. You also have a gray, then you've got a yellow and red mixture there moving through, and then we return to the gray as you get closer to the neck of the Dilophosaurus. And for what it is, the paintwork actually looks pretty decent, pretty natural overall, and there's also, again, really nice texturing, as well as, yet again, that kind of dark grayish wash that we see through a large portion of the figure. You can see the rear of the frill also looks quite nice, again, when it comes to the sculpt. And even though we don't have a whole lot of color back here, you can see, again, that there's a nice mixture of grays. As you lead down the neck, again, they've captured the color scheme, or like the design of the color scheme, pretty nicely, as we have the black here kind of leading down and kind of designing through the neck. We also have that nice longer neck that you see on the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park, rather than the shorter neck that we saw on the earlier Captivz version. And again, detail-wise, it looks quite nice. You can see the throat down here. The dark wash, again, continues to highlight all of the detail quite beautifully. You can see the separation here between the two different stripes of black leading down the neck, as you have that light gray up here on the top. And then as you lead down, we again continue to have those blackish tones moving along the spinal column and then striping down here into the side of the Dilophosaurus. You can see the arm as you lead down. One arm is touching here. The other arm's kind of lifted up off of the ground. This arm kind of helps the dinosaur to balance out. You can see some nicely sculpted fingers, and the nails are nicely sculpted. Unfortunately, they're not painted, but they are nicely sculpted. So if you really wanted to, you could, of course, paint the nails. But for the most part, considering what this is, again, I think the paintwork looks very nice. Leading back here into the stomach, you continue to see some decent-looking skin texture, a few skin wrinkles and stuff as you lead back. You've got a very nice leg sculpt as you lead back, nice muscle definition, and again, more of the black kind of running down here. And you can see, again, as we lead down, the muscle definition is sculpted nicely in both the thigh and calf. A little bit small here in the calf, but looks pretty much as the Dilophosaurus looks in the film. As you lead down into the foot sculpt, it looks okay, and you also, again, have nails sculpted out, but yet again, no paintwork for those nails. And then leading up, you've got a strong curve for the tail leading out. We have the grayish tones here, again, that dark wash, and then the black leading along the back, but the tail curves all the way back up and around. Very similar, not just with the tail, but like the overall appearance of this to the Papo Dilophosaurus. I wonder if that might have been the inspiration for the pose of this one, because it has a strong resemblance to that Dilophosaurus when it comes to the pose. But you can see, again, as you lead down the opposing side, the arm is in a bit of a different position over here. The neck is obviously turned away from us, and for the most part, you can get a better look at the neck over here because the frill isn't hiding it as much. The arm looks pretty good. The leg is also leading drastically over here compared to the opposing side, where it was trailing quite drastically. You can see some more skin wrinkles and stuff right there in the stomach region. And of course, the tail curves up similarly. Of course, you can see it's a little bit leaning to the dinosaur's left, but for the most part, it looks kind of the same over here on this side compared to the first side. So as a whole, that is, again, a way better version of the Dilophosaurus than the older version that we had. And in my attempt to grab all of these newer ones, I ended up with an extra of this Dilophosaurus, so I'll definitely be repainting one at some point, because I think this thing would look really good with a more faithful paint job to the JP version. But even what we have here, this thing is awesome. As far as a size goes, again, with the supersized version of these, they're usually quite a bit larger. And I will say this one doesn't have the best balance. You can see it can stand, but if you tap it, it does tend to fall over because the head is out so far. We have such a large frill and everything. It's kind of a little top heavy, but I just kind of push the arm out to balance it out. And it stands pretty decently, but you know, after a while, I feel like it might fall over. But lengthwise, you're looking at about 4 3/4 inches, or around 12 centimeters. And of course, it would be longer if the tail weren't curved up so high. The tail's probably the highest point, about 2.5 inches or 6.5 centimeters. And for the height of the frill, actually the frill's a little bit taller, not by much, but just a few, probably 1/16 taller than the tail. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Captivz supersized Dilophosaurus. And you can see that even though it is a supersized figure, it is still pretty small. But when it comes to being supersized, what they mean is supersized compared to the original version, which is way smaller. And to show you that, there is the original standard-sized version of the Dilophosaurus next to the newer super-sized version, and not only can you see a very clear difference in size, but a very clear difference in the overall beauty of the figure. Again, the newer one is so much nicer, and hopefully they release this sculpt in the standard size range at some point in the future to replace this smaller original version. And then for another size comparison, we have the supersized T-Rex from the first wave of supersized JP30 Captivz next to the Dilophosaurus, and you can see these guys are pretty similar in size. And for one final comparison, and just to kind of show you how I was speaking of them looking similar, there is the Papo version of the Dilophosaurus next to the Captivz version. And looking at the two, they do have sort of a similar look, though you can see some things are kind of flip-flopped. The legs are obviously stretched similarly, but in opposite sides. Same deal for the arms. The right arm of the Papo one is touching the left arm of the Captivz version. Same turn in the head, totally different tilt to the head and neck, but the tail looks very similar as far as the turn goes. So kind of similar, but at the same time definitely quite a bit different. Obviously they must have seen this figure at some point, maybe got some inspiration from it, but very clearly the figures are still quite different. So this brand new supersized Captivz Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary Dilophosaurus is a really cool figure. Honestly, I'm beyond psyched about this one. I think they did a great job of bringing this dinosaur to life with the newest version, way better than their older version. And I know that Toymonster International, they're so good at not only listening to their fans, but I think they're also really good at capturing, screen accuracy for most of their dinosaurs. A lot of their figures always look so similar or almost perfect to what you see on screen. And again, the Dilophosaurus was one of the few that I felt like strayed pretty far from what you do see on screen. They now have corrected that with this newest version. This thing is so much more screen accurate and just way better looking than the older version. On top of that, the paint apps are pretty cool on this. Again, even if they aren't perfect to what the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus looks like, they are pretty nice overall. There is a lot of paintwork added to it, and the dark wash ties everything together pretty nicely. Maybe a little bit too heavy on the dark wash, but overall it looks very nice for what it is. And again, it's a perfect figure, I think, when it comes to repainting, because the sculpt looks so good. I'm very excited to get one of these up on my painting table and give it a brand new paint job to look more screen accurate. I think the only slightly awkward thing about the entire figure is the fact that the frill is extended but the mouth is closed, and it seems as though the frill being extended and the mouth being open kind of go hand in hand, because obviously the frill being extended is kind of a defensive thing, and the mouth usually pops open once the frill comes out just to show that whole display off, the entire defensive display. So the mouth being closed doesn't perfectly go in line with the frill being extended, but I actually like the Dilophosaurus and the appearance to it with the mouth closed, so I really do like that aspect of the figure regardless. So as a whole, I'm beyond excited to see new JP30 supersized Captivz figures at Walmart, and I think this figure again is just a great improvement over the old one in every single way. So if you are interested, make sure you check your local Walmart, see if they've got the brand new supersized figures out. There's no difference between the packaging of these and the older ones as far as I've noticed, so if you just see like a fresh stock of supersized eggs, I think there's a good chance that these are what should be inside. So make sure you check your local Walmart, grab some of these, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.